When it comes to the Mario Party entries, there are some that'll spring to mind right away. Usually 1, 2, and 6 I've noticed for a lot of people. For me, I would add Mario Party 4 to that mix, but I've already made my case on the game in the past. So when it comes to the more overlooked titles in the series, the one that surprises me the most that it's even in this category is number 3. Realistically, it's kind of the first really true sequel in the Mario Party series. As much as I adore 2, and all of the refinements and new ideas it brought to the table, one could potentially argue that 2 wasn't really a sequel, but more of a glorified 1.5 since it did borrow a lot of content from the original. Keep in mind I'm not condemning people forgetting about the third game. Shit, I own a complete box and I still tend to glance over it in favor for Mario Party 2. Most likely due to nostalgia, but then that makes me think, why don't I have more of a fondness for 3? It does have the nostalgia benefit of being an N64 game, and I did play it back in the day and had rented it a few times despite never owning it when I was a kid. And it's definitely not a bad game by any means. In fact, I'm sure there's plenty of arguments that could be made to suggest it's actually one of the best in the series, because much like 2, 3 expanded and refined the gameplay even more, and it did so with all new elements. Outside of aesthetics like graphics and maybe a couple elements introduced into like banks and items, everything here is a new experience. First off, we're given 2 new characters to play as with Daisy and Waluigi, both great picks and were perfect for the roster. We're also given a dedicated story single-player mode, with the goal being to become the party star by testing your skills against others by collecting these stamps, which surprisingly adds some funny moments where Daisy and Waluigi fucking murder Bowser. And I've never seen the King of the Koopas get his ass handed to him so badly before. I legitimately laughed out loud at these sections. Now while I do appreciate Hudson Soft for wanting to provide something more meaningful in terms of the single-player experience, I'm kinda torn on how they approach this, as it would become the standard moving forward for many of their sequels. And that's the fact that story mode is basically just party mode, but without the option for multiplayer. On one hand, I get that story mode is meant to provide the player with some kind of challenge, hence why you can only play it against computers, but the CPUs aren't doing anything differently than they would in a normal round of Mario Party. So to lose the ability to progress the story with more than one player, kind of hurts it in my opinion. 1 and 2 didn't have that restriction, so why here? Again, like I said, I always go back and forth on this aspect with Mario Party single-player modes, but I figured I'd bring it up for discussion. The other main feature of 3 was the duel boards, a brand new mode that pits 2 players against each other in an attempt to hit each other with monster summons until they lose all their health, or turns run out, whoever has the most health left wins. To me, this was one of the highlights of Mario Party 3, and I'm shocked that we've never seen a return of this mode considering how great it was. Duel minigames got a huge expansion this time around where instead of being board specific, they acted like any other minigame. So they used this expansion for duel minigames as the basis. You play these minigames to increase your coin count, which is used to pay off your monster's tab, so that they can continue to protect you from hits, and do damage to your opponents as well. With another skilled player, this is easily one of the most competitive and fun modes in the entire series, and a good reason why I'd kill for a proper N64 trilogy remake. But that's just new features. How does the core gameplay fare? Honestly, as much as I adore 2, I think 3 deserves the title as best game in the N64 lineup. Everything you come to expect from the previous title is back in full force, and is either just as good as it was, or was expanded on further. The boards are all varied and each have their own specific feel and theme to them, shout out to Waluigi's Island. And the item mechanic would be expanded on further by not only letting players hold up to 3 now, but the list was expanded big time and depending on who's serving you, could affect which items are available to you for purchase. Also, the item minigames. Much like duel minigames, they aren't restricted to the board you play on anymore. Sure, you do lose that little bit of uniqueness in the way 2 did it, but I feel this was a good alternative. Really though, when it comes to how you interact with the board game portion of Mario Party 3, there's so many little details and refinements that's been added that I'd feel I'd be here forever trying to list them all. But lastly, the minigames. I might have my dislikes about a good portion of the 1 vs 3 minigames being completely broken in terms of balance, but despite that, this game has so many good minigames, oh my god! Toadstool Titan, Aces High, Snowball Summit, Baby Bowser Broadside, All Fired Up, Pop Gun Pickoff. So many good fucking minigames! Like, the only reason why so many of these didn't make it onto my first best minigames list was because I wanted the list to be more varied and not be all Mario Party 3. It's such a shame that Nintendo has never decided to do a re-release of this game. I can understand Mario Party 1, but really, the Virtual Console should have got this game too when it was still a thing, because more people should play Mario Party 3. But when the game goes for more than $70 Canadian or more just for the cartridge, well, it's not an easily accessible game. But if you are an N64 collector, don't overlook this one. It's worth its bloated price tag. Let's just hope Nintendo has enough sense to start making these games more readily available, because Mario Party 3 definitely deserves more love than what it gets.